Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Inclusion Works Lunch and Learn. Before we get started, here are a few reminders about the webinar. Please make sure you're using a computer or smartphone connected to the internet, and the audio function is on and the volume is turned up. Please be sure your microphone is muted for the duration of the call, unless you are speaking or asking questions. To ask questions, use the chat feature or click the hand icon located on your control panel, and we will answer as many questions as time allows after the presentation. For closed captioning options, select the closed caption feature located on your control panel. To adjust your video layout and screen view, select the view feature located in the top right-hand corner of your screen and choose the view that works best for you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Tina Barrett, Intellectual and Developmental Disability Team Lead, IDD, TBI, and Olmsted Section of the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today as we launch into our Lunch and Learn for Inclusion Works, Assistive Technology, and Pass the CIE Guide Demo. Before we get started, we wanted to take a moment to honor and acknowledge Juneteenth, which is a day that commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. It's a reminder of the resilience and perseverance of Black Americans in the face of injustice and a celebration of freedom and equality for all. We'd like to continue to reflect on its significance and strive to a more just and inclusive society. So thank you so much for joining us on this special day. Please submit your questions in the chat and we will address them at the end of the discussion. I'd like to introduce Julie Duchess, who is an assistive technologist with the North Carolina Assistive Technology Program Center, and Chris Vargovec, who is a reporting manager with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And I'm going to turn it over to Julie. I'm sorry, we do have our agenda today. We have our assistive technology in the workplace, as well as our Path to CIE demonstration, and we will follow up with questions and answers at the end.
Okay, so we are going to start sharing. There we go. Okay, so this is an overview of assistive technology with a focus on employment, specifically looking at individuals with IDD. So today, we're going to do an overview of NCATP and discuss assistive technology, what it is, the different categories of it, and then give some AT examples in the workplace. So just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Julie Duchess, and I've been with NCATP for just a little over 16 years now. I was a speech therapist in the schools prior to that, and then I started becoming an AT full-time in a community rehab center, and then came to NCATP. So I'm so excited to be here. So thank you all for attending, and we will get started. So NCATP, we are a state and federally funded assistive technology program. With that, we fall under, we're one of the AT programs, state programs that fall under a state agency. 23 of them do. 23 are housed in a university setting, and then the rest are nonprofits. So we are a state, we fall under the state agency. It goes DHHS. Then EIPD, and we kind of fall under that umbrella of EIPD, which is the Division of Employment and Independence for People with Disabilities, formerly known as Vocational Rehabilitation. So just to let you know, because we are an AT Act that we were created under the 21st Century Assistive Technology Act, and every state has one. So even if you have family in other states, or if you move, every state is going to have an AT program similar to NCATP. Every state AT program does have to do two main things, which is to increase your public awareness of what assistive technology is, and then also provide access to that. And so every state has to do a demo and loan program and do public awareness. The other states programs, we all do it a little bit differently after that. And we'll go into a little bit of what NCHB does here in a minute. We do serve all 100 counties, and we do that through 9 AT centers across the state. And this is where this is how we kind of break it down. So we've got Mary Kay and Silva, Christy Kirk and Morganton, oh goodness, Sam, Westerick and Greensboro, and Paul, Indre, and Winston-Salem. In this pink area, that's where I fall. I'm in the Raleigh and Sanford area. I'm actually in the Sanford office. Raleigh, we have 4 different individuals that work up there. Then we've got Greenville with Sarah and Gloria, Jay and Wilmington, and then Charlotte also has 2 SLPs and 1 AT there as well. So we have 4 SLPs total across the state, which are speech language pathologists. They kind of focus on our augmentative and alternative communication devices, but they also do AT as well. But that's how we break it down into those sections. So who do we serve? We serve pretty much anybody that has a want or need to know about assistive technology. We work with people of all ages, all varying abilities. We work with family members, educators. So we're in the school systems, farmers. We have an agribility program that we do, and that is focused on our farmers across the state, trying to find safe and effective modifications and accessibility for the farmers that are across the state. We also work with professionals in various disability related fields, and then employers as well. So people always ask, like, you know, do they have to come to the center or whatever? And the answer is no. We go into the community a lot. So if they cannot come, so I work with a lot of rural areas, and it's very difficult for them to get to the center sometimes. And so we can go to their home, in the school systems. We go to the workplace. A lot of times that's really good for us to go there because we can actually see what's going on, what they're wanting, what they're needing to do, what their tasks are, what the environment looks like. And so it's really nice for us to be able to go into the different settings as well, so we get a better understanding. So our services are on the left-hand side, there's a column that says no cost, and that's exactly right. Those are free services. We do all those things for free. We do in-person, virtual, and recorded demonstrations, which is really important to make sure that you get to see the product in action before you buy it or anything. And one of those things that we do is an AT for all. So if you go to our website, you'll see a calendar, and you'll see the different things. We do those every 2 weeks, every other Thursday from 11:30 to 12. And basically we're showing different AT devices and things like that, and different services. And usually it's a NCATP staff member who does it, but we also have different exhibitors and vendors come in sometimes too, or program organizers will come and talk about their services as well. We do loans. This is probably one of my favorite things, is just because I feel like before anybody wants to buy anything, whether it's $2 or a pretty hefty price tag item, we want to know it works before we do that. And so we have anything in our centers pretty much can be loaned out for 2 weeks at a time, free of charge. If you need it for longer, we'll look and see if there's anybody on the waiting list or anything, and if not, we can extend it for another 2 weeks. And if you're doing an AAC device, those communication devices, those are 30 days typically for those loans. And what's really nice about it is, like Sanford, I'm one of the newer centers. It started in 2008. Well, I guess it's not that much. You think about it, but to me it was just like the other day it started. But anyways, so I don't have as much in my center. I have quite a bit over the years, but like your Raleigh and Charlotte offices, they're pretty large and they have even more equipment. But let's say I don't have something, I get to ask them if they have it. So basically, individuals have the entire inventory of all 9 centers because we can pass the equipment back and forth so somebody can loan it in our region if we don't have it. We also do information and referral awareness activities, AT reuse. That's a really nice program. Basically, people will donate things back to us. So they no longer need it, or it's not what they wanted, whatever, and they'll put it on our website. And basically how that works is those are considered long-term loans. So if we loan it out to you, we don't really expect it back. You can give it back if you want, but we just call those long-term loans, and it's basically we're loaning it to you until you no longer need it. Information on funding resources and also alternative financing like self-help. So we do work with them. And then we have our NC Ramp program, which is a short-term loan of portable ramps. And the ramps we have, they don't fit every situation, but for those that it does work out, it's really nice for them to have that portable ramp as a temporary solution until they can get a permanent one. A lot of times somebody may have had an injury and they're coming out of rehab. Maybe their home is not, doesn't have a ramp quite yet, but they need to have it in order to come home. So that's where those ramps really come into play sometimes. And then our fee-based services are our assessments and trainings. So we do the communication, those are our SLPs, we'll do those. Our AT assessments, we have the farming assessments, and then we do technical assistance and training for individuals or groups. So we do that a lot. This is what our website looks like. I always highly recommend that people come to our website. It's got a lot of great information. It's a long one ever since we kind of went under EIPD. So we just usually tell people Google NCATP and it'll pop up and click on it. And this is what it'll look like. But it's got some really great information. It tells you the information for our centers, contact information for our staff, how to make a referral, all the paperwork that we need for it, where to send it, all that stuff. And then also any training opportunities. So like it'll have like I said, the calendar of events, and you can look at what's coming up and everything. Our next big one is our AT Expo, which will be held on October 3rd at the McKimmon Center in Raleigh. And it's free and it's all day and it's really great. And we are going to have we have different presentations all day long. We have a huge exhibit hall where you can come and talk to the exhibitors and everything and find out about all the wonderful equipment and services that are out there. And then also this year we have the Apple Room. So Apple is coming and we're going to have a whole Apple demo room where they're going to be talking about all their built-in things that come on iOS systems, and they're there to help you troubleshoot as well. So very excited about that. So what I always say is teamwork makes the dream work, right? So let's all just get to know us. Come visit. The time, we're just scratching the surface today. So we love for people to come in and have us demo and show you around and talk about the program. And so that's always really great. So just get to know us and schedule a time to come in and tour the center. So what is assistive technology? So assistive technology is any piece of equipment or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified or customized, that's used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. That is the technical definition. I like to tell people it's anything that we can use to get stuff done. And it's really the truth. I mean, we're talking about putting Velcro on a mouse so people know which button to click. That's considered assistive technology, all the way up to using eye gaze systems to control our computers. So we do have, it's a large gamut of what it is. Just always think of it's anything that we can use to get things done and increase independence and opportunity for individuals. And a lot of times we'll take things that are sold right on the counters for something else, and we'll adapt it for individuals that we use, that we work with. So that's very common. And so those pictures, the one in the upper right is somebody using the Tetra Mouse where they use their mouth to move the cursor and then do sips and puffs to then select and copy and do all kinds of computer tasks just with their mouth. The one below that are those pink perlers. If anybody remembers those pink perlers, they make really great holders for silverware or writing utensils or anything like that. So that's something that was built for one thing and we're using it for something else. To the left, then on the bottom is a communication device. It's one of our more intricate AAC ones, and then more dynamic. And then above that is an alert system. So if somebody has difficulty with hearing, it'll flash or vibrate. That's a bed shaker. You can put the round piece underneath your pillow, and when your alarm goes off, if you can't hear it, it's going to shake your pillow and wake you up. It'll also blink lights and things like that too. So when we're talking about assistive technology, we kind of categorize it into low or no tech, mid tech, and high tech. So you'll sometimes hear those when you're talking about assistive technology. When we're talking about low or no tech, I always kind of think of like no batteries is what we kind of think of. And so like the calendar, your paper calendar, or just color coding it. Sometimes that's what people need just to get organized. And it seems really simple, but until they try it, they don't know about it. And so just categorizing it with colors sometimes really helps, and getting it down, that written, writing it down sometimes helps. I know it does with me. And then to the right of that is a slant board. You can make your own out of the 3-ring binders, but this is one that was commercially bought. And sometimes if you just put it at an angle, somebody who has writing dexterity issues, and we put it on that slant, this really helps them get the correct angle to where it's stabilized and their printing looks a little bit better. And then also to the right of that is then a automatic stapler. So somebody who has some issues with strength of pushing down on a stapler may have not the ability to hit that exactly. So we can put the paper underneath it and just staples it automatically. So that's something that you'll see a lot of in like different office settings. So then you move up to mid tech. So that's a little bit higher, obviously, than your lower, but it's not quite as dynamic as your higher tech ones. It's not as more involved than your higher ones. So what we're talking about here, so like with communication, it might be a voice amplifier. So the picture to the left is of a voice amplifier. It says Zygo on it. And a lot of times individuals are able to like say their words, pronounce their words okay, but they don't have the breath support. And so sometimes that amplification is all they need. So that's something that you can do. To the right of that is then your switches. Those are just an example of some. There's numerous switches that you can do. That's the one to the left of it is the one you just grasp and squeeze and it'll activate. The pillow switch is there. So you usually use that with your head. You've got a candy corn, kind of like for the candy at Halloween, to where you don't even have to touch that one. You just have to break the light field and it'll select. And we use those for computer access, environmental control. So if you wanted to plug in we have a system and you plug in your blender and then you plug in your switch, you hit the switch, it'll turn the blender and activate it, and then hit it again, it'll turn off. So we use those a lot. And then also with your AuComm devices, you'll see switches being used. We also use them for gaming as well. So if you have any adaptive gamers out there, those switches will come in handy a lot. To the right of that is just like your alternative keyboards, trying to think of those to be used. Oops. There we go. And then for your higher tech, those are like your device, your AuComm devices that you hit it and it's going to go to multiple pages and everything, and the voice is programmed into it. You don't have to record your voice. And then to the right of that is your CCTV, and where you can put something underneath it. And some of them it'll magnify. You can change the color coordination of it. And then also it could some of them will even read aloud what's being magnified. And then of course your power wheelchair is considered a high-tech device. So a lot of times when people think of assistive technology, they think of the equipment and the items and things like that, but it's also the service, because if you don't have this part of it, we're not going to get anywhere, right? So it's any service that directly assists an individual with a disability with selection, acquisition or obtaining it, purchasing it, and the use of assistive technology. So without these three things, your equipment's just going to sit there, right? So we at NCHP, we do help with the selection. If we do like an assessment, we'll recommend something, and then we'll help you figure out how to obtain it, whether through your referral person, or if you don't have that, we can look elsewhere for different resources for those. And then how to use it. You've got to know how to be able to use the equipment that is given. And so you want to make sure you have that training component, and like not only how to use it, but where to use it and what are some strategies and some tips for it. So all that is considered assistive technology. So when you put the devices and the services together, that's when we start seeing the increase for opportunities and independence. And because AT is so important for inclusion and quality of life, productivity, especially in the workplace and in the educational systems. And then also that independence. That's the whole reason I even got into what I do, is was to help. I had a grandfather who had a second stroke and lost the ability to verbalize what he wanted to do. And it just made such an impression on me. And I just, I knew that's something I wanted to go into, and it led me to speech, that led me to AT. And just to be able to do that is an honor every day. And also you never know if you're going to need it, your family member is going to need it, or somebody that you're working with, or neighbor, whoever. And so it's always nice to know that assistive technology is out there. And even though we're not going to learn about everything today, just to get your brain thinking about all the possibilities that AT may help with. And then that way, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to one of the centers for more discussion. But these are the categories of AT that we kind of look at, that's broken down into. So it's activities of daily living. So you're thinking eating, toiletry, getting ready, getting dressed, taking showers, organizing your day, to be able to get to places on time. Those are those kinds of things that the AT would fall under. That communication we've talked a lot about, whether it's verbal, or if it's also how you understand language, if there's a processing issue, or if you need it amplified, all those things. So written and verbal communication is what we're looking at. Computer access, when we talk about those, we're talking about not only the inputting of information into the computer, so with your keyboards, your mouse. So we might look at using, like I think I mentioned earlier, like eye gaze. So where somebody looks at a kind of a camera and it moves the mouse around for them, and they do it all with their eyes. Could be a different keyboard or mouse, different things like that. We'll look at those. And then also, though, the output. So how are they able to get what's on the screen to them? So it may be text to speech, or in screen readers where the things are read aloud to them, or it could be like blinks, like flashes, so that they know, instead of a notification where sometimes it beeps, it'll flash. It could be magnification on a screen with different contrasts. So all those different things are what computer access is. Education, learning, and cognition. So we think of reading, writing, all those different things, how we're learning, the processing, and what AT can fit to meet those. Positioning and mobility. Positioning is huge. So we use a lot of mounting, because we want to position the equipment to the person, not try to make the person fit to where the stuff is. So that positioning with mounts is very crucial a lot of times. And then mobility, we're talking about getting around. So like canes, wheelchairs, scooters, getting in and out of a chair, those kinds of things. Then recreation, leisure, and gaming. This is huge. This is a big one. This is one that's trending. We just did 3 more AT pop-ups across the state this year. We just wrapped up our last one in May. But there's so many great things. And this is one that you talk about. It's fun to watch this happen. And because it's just, you talk about, we don't want the social, where they're kind of away from everything. We want the social isolation. We want social inclusion. And so this is a great way that we're seeing have it start to, is with the recreation, leisure, and gaming. And there's so many great things that are coming on the market, as well as some great services across the state. And doing those AT pop-ups, we really found some really good ones. And so yeah, that's been a fun one to kind of get to know. And we do have 3 of our 9 centers that are kind of our adaptive gaming centers. So we have more equipment than some of the other ones. And so I'm one of them. And then the Wilmington one and the Morganton one are the ones on gaming. And then also AT is hearing and vision, smart home. And again, with that, we have 4 centers that are focused on smart home. And that's Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, and Greensboro. So those are our ones that kind of focus on smart homes a lot. And then vehicle modifications. I will say that is a category of AT, but NCATP does not do vehicle modifications. We've got resources for that. So yeah, so those are the different categories. And the last thing before we kind of get into some of the examples is just, a lot of times people think, okay, I've got somebody with cerebral palsy, for example, what assistive technology is out there for them? What would work for them? And, that's a hard question to answer right away, because it's a starting point, but it's not everything, right? We've got to know that individual. We've got to get to know what their strengths are, where they may be struggling a little bit, and what tasks they're having difficulties with. And so we always want to, remind ourselves that assistive technology is related to the function rather than to a specific disability. So like, for example, yeah, the saying is, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. If and my friend who had ALS, the way his strengths and needs were totally different than the other individuals that I've worked with ALS. So it does, like I said, give us a starting point, but we really do need, AT is very much person-centered. We've really got to get to know that person and know what their strengths and needs are in order to tell you what assistive technology may match up with them best. So some examples, I just pulled some of these just to kind of talk about a little bit, just to kind of start showing you some of the examples that we do have in the workplace. So to the left, that is a calculator that, if you can see that, it has the different coins at the top. And if you hit that, it would represent, if you hit the penny, it'd put in the thing 1 cent. And then you can add it up that way. I had an individual just the other day who is doing really great, going to a barber school, doing really well. We're figuring out some things. But he said, for whatever reason, he has a very hard time with coins and the denominations and adding and subtracting coins. He can add and subtract, but for whatever reason, he said coins are really hard for him. So we got that for him. It also comes in an app. So actually we recommended the app for him, but this is a physical calculator, but it's really great. We've used it in a lot of different circumstances. So that's just one thing. The one in the middle, that is a whiteboard that has one of the timers on it. So this has been really great to put in different employment places, if they have like a desk or something. Also in educational settings as they transition, this is another one that's really good. And so you can put write their to-do list, you can do task lists, whatever, reminders, important things for them to remember. You can even break it down into the morning and have either they write it, put it on there, and then set the timer to when break is or whatever. The timers, if you're not familiar with those, the reason a lot of people like those is because there's no ticking, there's no alarm that goes off. It just slowly fades away, and it's a great visual for how much time is left. So that's it just comes with it, and that's really nice. So that's a whiteboard. And then at the bottom there to the right of that, that's a DIY one. So I had a gentleman doing great, had his iPad with his apps and was doing wonderfully in his new job that he had. And one day we just had some behavior issues. And and for whatever reason, didn't want to use the iPad, whatever. So what we did is we were like, okay, let's get through the day. And so we just created this DIY one. It's just those, you make the panels into like shelves or whatever, the little plastic things. Took a whiteboard, yeah, dry erase. There we go. It's just like a piece of paper, but it's a sticker. So we stuck it on there, and you can just write on it and everything. You can also I quickly printed off his rest of his day, what was left. And then he had a pocket with his dry erase markers and eraser and stuff. And then we had a little timer on there. So we just kind of made our own little DIY really quickly. I love DIY. Do it yourself. But anyway, so that's one of those where you can purchase that, or you can just have one of those and make it on the fly if you need to. And then afterwards, just to let you know, we figured out what was going on and we went back to his other technology, but it's always good to have a backup. That's what I always say. Technology is great, A, when it works, or B, when the person wants to use it. So, sometimes it's not every day. And then also here's a visual schedule planner app. We use this a lot for individuals that kind of need that visual with the pictures as well. And so if they have this, several of my students, some of them are students, some of them are employees, have been using this, and it works really, really well for them. It's just a great visual. The reason I like it too is if you look in the upper left or upper right, excuse me, that's what it looks like when you're putting in something. And so what's really nice is you can add an actual photo of either if it's the task that they're getting ready to do or a person that they're going to work with. You can add that. You can add audio to it. So you can add like some auditory instructions as well. If they click on it, it'll tell them as well. So it's a visual along with the auditory. So this is just a really great app that I wanted to kind of show you, because when we're looking at individuals, typically with IDD, we're really kind of focused. This is not everything, but the majority of the things that we're focusing on are organizational, memory aids, communication, the seating, so their workstations and their desks. Sometimes we need alternative seating and adjustable desks and everything. Cognitive and learning aids with those visuals and reminders and text to speech. So this is just one of the things that we helped with organizing the day and getting those tasks done. There's also the Work Autonomy app, to where it's a really great app. It's one of the more expensive apps though. I think it's like $150, I think. I think that's where it's at now. But if for the schedule, you can actually program the task and break it down. So you can do a task analysis and break it down into steps, and they can click on it, and it can be a video, it can be an auditory description, it can just be a word, just to get them through the steps. And it's also doing the timing of how long it takes them to do it, or it can also be, you've got 2 hours, let's say, to your break, and it's counting it down. So it does a lot of different things that way. And they can control how many, they can tap it every time they're done. So you can see their progress and their productivity and everything, and even set goals. So that bottom right-hand graph is showing you like their goal and where it is. And so it's a really great tracker. This is the step pad with some DIY stuff. So the step pad's really cool. So the 4 white buttons on top, you can put pictures in there or words. And so like it can do up to, oh my goodness, I think it's like 36 steps for one. So like that first one could be like for somebody riding the bus, and it can give you the steps. And so you hit the one at the first button, that white button, and it'll say riding the bus. And then you use the directional buttons at the bottom there. So the triangle facing to the right, you would click it and it would go to the next step. the next step. And what I like about this though is if you miss it or you forget it, like maybe you hit it twice and then it's like, oh no, what was that step? You can actually go back. Some of those that go through, you have to go all the way through and back around to find it. This one allows you to go back. So it's really nice on that part of it. And so this is another way to get people more independent. The reason the DIY stuff, so how many of y'all have those bracelets, right? That you put on for whatever? They make really good universal cuffs to where you can put your hand through it. And so if somebody has dexterity issues and has a hard time holding things, they can slide their hand through that and it'll hold it and they don't have to grasp hold of it or anything. So that's really nice. So I put one of those on and I use Sugru. That's the white part on the bottom of it that sticks the bracelet to the device. And Sugru is just moldable plastic. So once it's in there and it's set. And then to the right, I also made a stand. So he could put it through. The gentleman I used this particular one for, when he was going around, he used the universal, the band and held it and moved it around. But when he was working on something, a specific task, he was at a desk and it was hard for him. He needed it at an angle. And so I just took some thermoplastic, which it's like these little beads and you boil them and then you can form it into whatever shape you need. And you can even color it. That's why it's blue. He was a UNC fan. But anyways, so I made that little stand, if you will, to where it would hold it when he was pressing on it when he was working. Otter AI is a free app. There is a purchase that you can do with it, but basically what it does is whatever's being said, it transcribes it. And I use these a lot. I actually use this one a lot because when I go to conferences or whatever, it's really nice to just hit it and let it play and it just records everything that's being said. And then I can go back later and edit and highlight and do what's important. What it's done in the latest update is there is a summary. So you record a session, it transcribes everything that's being said. So they might be in a training or whatever. And then it summarizes it for them and it can be read aloud. And so it's that visual and auditory again. Then there's the transcript in the middle just to kind of show you what it looks like. It does take out keywords so you can search it later so like if you're wanting to find all the transcripts on switches, for example, I could put switches and it would bring them all up for me. But it breaks it down into different speakers and everything. And then the third tab is Otter Chat, and that's where they've added their AI option. So you can then go in and say, tell me a little bit about Google Lens, because we talked about Google Lens in it. And then the AI comes up and tells you all about not just what was said, but also a little bit more about the product. So it's really, really kind of neat when you pulled it all together. And this is a free app, like I said, and it's Otter, OTTER, and then AI. On the back part of that, there's Seeing AI. And what that does is it is it's free again. And if you look at the picture to the right, you can see the TT. So that is basically short text. So wherever you point your phone or tablet, it's going to read what's in front of it. You can also change the language. So if something is written in Spanish, for example, you can hit the button and it'll read whatever it is in Spanish to you. So people who have like ESL, they can hear it in their own language as well. So that's kind of neat. And then the icon beside that, it's like a piece of paper. If you change it to that view, you can actually take a picture of a document and it's going to read along and it'll highlight as it reads. So that's a great function. And then there's also other ones, but like the barcode, if something has a barcode, you can point it to and it'll tell you more about the product. This was actually designed for people who are blind or low vision. And so there's other options like where you can point it at money and it'll tell you what denomination it is, people identification, what a scene looks like. But a lot of times when we're using it for reading or something, we do just use those first two a lot, the short text and where you can take a picture and it'll read to you. And again, that's a free app. Then a really cool thing that's been going on is we just kind of mentioned AI but then there's also virtual reality and it's being used in some really cool ways. So like in the school system, they might be using, like we're seeing the VR being used for like training with soft skills and technical and memory and career exploration. And then on the job, if those things change, then they can use it there too. So just an example, virtual reality, or with virtual reality, this is Garage, Reality Garage, and they have all these different programs already in their system, and you can just download it onto your VR glasses if you already have them. And so to the left, you can see, so there's tutorials with videos, and this was bussing tables, for example. And so you watch somebody actually go and bus a table, and they walk you through it and describe how you do it appropriately. And then you get to practice. So you get to like physically, you're moving your hands. If you can see my hands, I'm like moving my hands, but you actually, if you've ever done virtual reality, so you're picking up the plate and putting it in. So it's really nice practice before they actually get on there. So there's no breaking of glasses, there's no breaking of plates. They get to actually try it out. We're doing this with a lot of different things. There's a community college that does an ammo building. And this is going to be really good for them because if you don't know what you're doing, you could break the machine. So they're going to actually get to try it out first through virtual reality and then go to the actual device, the machine. So this is some really cool things that are coming out that are being utilized. We should be hopefully getting some of these into our centers. We hope. We already have the virtual reality. We're just trying to get the different programs into it like this. And then one last thing I wanted to make sure I showed you is Goblin Tools, which is AI driven. And I'm going to actually click on this really quickly. There we go. So what this does, if you ever have to do a task analysis, so for example, well, here we go. Let's just do busing tables. And this thing is in my way. Let me move this over. So I just put it in there. I hit add, and then I hit the magic wand. And you can see that it will tell me, it'll do all the different tasks that usually comes with busing tables. And then that person has that on like their tablet or their phone, and they can just click on it and go down the line. So that's a really nice thing that this program does, and it is free. And let's say I don't understand replacing dirty dishes with clean ones. I can then break it down even further, and it'll do that for me. It'll break that task down even more. Another really cool one very quickly, and then I'm wrapping it up, I promise, is let's say this is Formalizer. I am mad at you. You interrupted me during the meeting. We need to talk. So if I hit convert, I can make it sound more professional. And you can see it says, I would like to address the situation that occurred during the meeting where I was interrupted. It is important that we have a discussion about this issue. So we work with individuals that sometimes that would be the top one would be the email or how they would say something. So it's a good practice on how to make it a little bit more professional in the work environment. And you can see you can do more polite, more formal, different things. We usually use the professional when we're trying to train those soft skills in that. So anyways, let's go back here real quick. And I think that's it. We did talk, I was going to talk about this lady. She was in a program. This is a great one for me to always talk about because she's transitioned from a program at UNC into, she was getting her own apartment and getting a permanent job. And so what we ended up doing was we got the work autonomy app that we talked about, the visual schedule planner. And then another thing just to throw out there, sometimes individuals have a hard time interviewing and telling about what they do because they've got some great skills and everything. And just sometimes for whatever reason whatever their reason may be, they have difficulty explaining it in an interview. So using iMovie, where you go and actually show them doing the skills that they do so well. So when they go to the interview, they can take their tablet, they can press it, and the employer can look at it and see all the wonderful things that they're doing. You can have voiceover on it and everything, but it's a really great addition to a written resume, and it just the individuals are being more independent by showing them the video and everything and interacting that way. So that's just one more thing. So that is it for me. I know I went over, I think, by like 5 minutes. I'm sorry. But again, this is just scratching the surface, but it's a good introduction to who NCATP is, what assistive technology is, and some of the ways that we can use it in the workplace. So hope you all enjoyed it. We're going to put my email in the chat so you can have it if you have any questions. If we don't get to them today, please feel free to reach out to me. So thank you very much. And I will stop sharing. There we go.
And I believe that means it's my turn. Thank you very much, Julie. It was a wonderful presentation. I'm very excited about all the technologies available. And I'm excited to share another tool that might be helpful for individuals with IDD. If I can get the next slide, we can see what we've been working on. First of all, happy Juneteenth. Thank you for joining. I'm excited to share with you this tool we've developed and hopefully how it can help you. So what we're looking at here is our first public result of many months of collaboration between multiple departments. And we designed this to map out the many supports available to help individuals reach CIE in the many, many ways to access those services. As we know, service options aren't the same for everybody. People have different goals of what they're trying to get out of their employment, or if they even want employment at all. Personal details also vary widely. Do people have Medicaid? Do they have a provider already? What services have they gotten and how have those experiences been? All of those things can affect the best path for an individual in seeking an employment, and it can be very overwhelming for individuals seeking CIE. So we made an interactive tool. I'll give a detailed demo of this in a second, and we're really excited about how this can demystify some of the complexity we're talking about and give a preview of what supports are to come. So on the next slide, we'll get to how we can use it because this is live. We posted it and there's a QR code here, but I think even better, I can give you a walkthrough of how I would find it. So let me make sure I share my correct screen here. Let's go screen 2. Let me know if you can see my search results. Or stop me if you can't. I'll assume I did it right. And here we see the Inclusion Works website where this is posted. I found by searching NC Inclusion Works. First result here, we can click that to open up the Inclusion Works homepage. If you don't know about this already, it's a great place with a lot of information there before we posted this tool. And to find the tool in particular, because it's the hot new thing right now, it's also on the banner at the front. If you click this, but it'll live permanently in the information for care providers section. So coming down here, see the other resources, but right now, if we go to the Paths to CIE guide for care provider section, we can see the tool we're talking about. We'll get into what that looks like by clicking the Explore Paths to CIE guide. So right here we have page 1 of the report, and let's get into the demo. This guide is meant to assist individuals with IDD in finding meaningful employment in their communities and navigate the path to CIE. Today, I'll provide a quick demonstration of the Exploring Paths to Competitive Integrated Employment guide, which is specifically designed for care providers. This may also be helpful for families and others who support individuals with IDD in their job search or in changing their existing job supports. This guide is not designed for individuals with IDD to navigate on their own, but DHHS and the Inclusion Works team are collecting feedback and working on a version that best meets the needs of the community. More on that feedback avenue later. Navigation through this guide follows the square folded corner icons, with each click of those icons jumping you to a different slide or step in the process. We recommend that care providers navigate this tool alongside an individual with IDD that they are supporting so they can help navigate through as the individual would. When there's more than one folded corner icon on a page, you can choose the best fit to explore the individual's unique path. And if you ever get lost, the Go Back button in the upper right will help you retrace your steps, and the Return to Start button will take you to the beginning of the guide. Testing out this Go Back button, we can see that on the last page, like many pages, complex terms are underlined. Clicking these underlined terms will lead you to our glossary, where these terms are defined and often further resources are linked. If we click on CIE, either here or down here, we can see DHHS's definition of competitive integrated employment and even a link to the InclusionWorks website with more information. We can once again review that CIE means working in the community alongside other employees without disabilities, earning at least minimum wage, and getting the same workplace benefits and opportunities as other employees doing the same job. When you're done reviewing a definition in the glossary, clicking the Go Back button will take you back to the exact spot you just were, and the folded corner icon will do the same thing. Now, if you're comfortable with navigation at this point, you can jump right to the Start, section A of this guide. But for the purposes of this demo, let's learn a little more first. This guide will take you and the individual you're supporting through 4 major steps of the CIE journey. Section A, what are your goals, helps identify the individual's situational needs and employment interests. Section B, who can help, previews the resources and support organizations users will connect with on their journey, potentially including the state departments like EIPD, the Department of Employment and Independence for people with disabilities. Section C, achieving employment goals, offers guidance on goal setting and career planning. And finally, Section D, long-term supports, explores resources available to maintain employment and advance through an individual's career. The guide in the upper right corner can also give you some indication of how far through the path you are and what step you're on, A through D. So, putting ourselves in the shoes of an individual with IDD who we're supporting, we begin in Section A, where the first page asks, have you ever worked with an employment provider? Pretending like our individual has and is receiving some day services at an employment provider, we'll click, yes, I have a current provider. The next question asks, are you currently employed in CIE? Let's say our individual is not yet, but is interested. So let's say, no, I do not have a job in CIE. Through these branching steps, we can see how unique paths are explored and how an individual's journey can take the shape that's right for them. Some steps in the path, like this, don't branch and instead offer information that continues through the guide. Continuing through our path to CIE, we see that our next choice asks if the individual is satisfied with the current provider relationship. Let's say that our individual is and things are going well. We see that our existing provider may be able to help with the next step. And then the branch after that asks, can that provider help with a job search? Now you can help them make the correct choice here, but this is also a great place to explore both options. So let's see what each path looks like. If we say no, the provider cannot help, we learn that EIPD can step in to help with the job search and arranging job supports. If we click back and instead select yes, the provider is well equipped to help with the job search, the path looks different, and we can see how an individual can achieve CIE with the same provider and the same familiar resources they are used to. Beyond that, a key success in this journey is, of course, achieving CIE, getting a job. This is something that many paths in this guide reach through various supports. Beyond here, the guide helps us get deeper into the long-term supports as they continue to build their skills and maintain a happy, productive, and lucrative job in the community. As you can see, this tool provides a structured roadmap for achieving CIE and connecting users with valuable resources. This tool is designed for self-exploration, so we encourage users and their supports to see what other paths could contain and be empowered with a valuable preview of supports and steps to come. We encourage you to explore the tool with the individuals you support and reach out to your local EIPD office for personalized assistance. Before I open it up for questions, let's take a look at the frequently asked questions document that was also hosted on the InclusionWorks website. We go back here, get to our homepage, you can once again find the information for care providers section, and in the Path to CIE Guide for Care Provider section, we see that this is the link that brought us right to the guide, and frequently asked questions that supplements this, answers some key things. including that feedback loop I mentioned earlier. We have an email open, dmhiddcontact@dhhs.nc.gov, where we're collecting feedback on this tool. Right now, as mentioned on the first slide of this tool, this is intended for care providers and a pilot launch. We are eager to adapt this for further needs of the community and see what other versions may be helpful. With that, I hope this has been a valuable preview. I can get back to the tool or any other piece of it if there are questions. And I haven't looked at the chat yet. Anything so far?
Sorry, there's no questions for you, Chris, in the chat. I think, Julie, there might have been a question about what is a farm assessment. I think that was during your part.
Oh, okay. So a farm assessment is basically where we go out to individual's farm, and we just kind of like any other assessment, we just kind of go and see which tasks they're having difficulty with and where we can possibly fit in some AT. So some of theirs is a little different. And so like for one instance, we had to use a lift almost to get someone from their truck into the tractor. And so that was an interesting one. Sometimes we just have to add different kinds of handles and grips to things. There's all different kinds of things. But basically just to sum it up though, if for the AT farm assessment is just, we go out there, we see if it's, they're having trouble with a particular, like the piece of equipment, and can we find something to either modify it or look and find something, because they are building things in mind for farmers with disabilities. And so we will see if there's something on the market or if we need to create it ourselves, and just be able to figure out ways that they can do it safely. What we are finding is that farmers, a lot of them, don't want to stereotype, but a lot of them they will figure out a way to do it because that's their livelihood. That's what they do. And they do it from morning to night a lot of times. And so they were just figuring out ways, but sometimes it wasn't a safe way. And so NC State, we're doing a lot of things with their agriculture and going and finding this. And so we partnered up with them to go out and do these assessments to where we can figure out ways for them to just do it safely and keep going as long as they can, as independently. So hope that explains it.
Great. We got one more question about how to get certified as a caregiver for an older or more elderly individual with IDD. Tina, are you by any chance able to respond to this one? If not, Colleen, we can find you an answer and reach out to you after this webinar.
Hi, Colleen, I'm going to drop my email in the box. If you could reach out, and we can talk some more online or offline, sorry.
Great. Thank you so much, Tina.
Sure.
Unless we have any more questions, I think we can close off the Q&A portion.
Okay. Thank you, Ashlyn. So the recording and presentation slides for today's event will be posted on the Inclusion Works website. The link is included in the chat. There will be a brief survey following today's webinar, and we would appreciate your time completing it. This concludes our Lunch and Learn for today. Thank you for attending.